r/AskReddit, what's the cringiest thing a teacher has done at your school? High school English teacher slept with her son's best friend. Or the elementary music teacher getting arrested for soliciting sex from a minor right after he retired. I'm sure the undercover cop surprised the hell out of him. I had this math teacher, Ms. Green, who loved to sing. Her voice was fine, that wasn't the problem. The cringy things she did as a result of that, though, when we were learning the quadratic equation, she had us sing it to Adele's Rolling in the Deep, and for the next couple of months, if someone wanted to use the hall pass, they had to sing the quadratic equation to get it. Then there were the birthdays. If someone had a birthday as well as a friend in that class who was enough of a jackass to inform Miss Green of said birthday person was forced to stand in front of the classroom while the class sang happy birthday. Ms. Green would divide us into 3 groups and have us sing it in canon, which does not sound good. The ensuing 4 minutes were spent with the class looking down at their desks, mumbling happy birthday. If Ms. Green didn't think you were singing loud enough, she would lean down, look into your eyes, and sing loudly at your face. Birthday person looked on in embarrassment and pity. My classroom was next to a girl's bathroom. My teacher would always pause class to go yell at them for using the hand dryers and disrupting the class, but we knew he was just looking for an excuse to invade their privacy. He would also drop pencils in front of his desk and ask girls to pick them up. He was arrested a couple years later for having CP on his work computer. Not sure where he is now. Hopefully, still in prison. Freshman year, the assistant principal was courting a 14-year-old freshman. We used to eat lunch together and he would always stop by to chat her up. After her first home game cheering, he brought her by a dozen red roses. What made it even more cringy is she was a late bloomer and looked more like a 10-year-old. Same school, junior year, had a teacher/baseball coach tell myself and another student he would see us working at Hooters someday. How do these people keep their jobs? We got a new principal at a small, tightly knit charter school. He was a large, middle-aged man who really wanted us to accept and like him. Honestly, it was really hard to. He had an authoritarian approach to an unusually democratic school and seemed inherently inauthentic/disingenuous. One day, he decided to tell us that if we reached these high testing scores, he would dance to Super Bass by Nicki Minaj. We did, because we all thought it would be funny, but the man took it way too far. He dressed up as Nicki Minaj, wig and feather boa, and it was honestly kinda horrific. He got on a table on all fours, started twerking, gyrating, and it was awful. None of the students or teachers could really look at him the same way. A lot of people said it was the day they lost all respect for the man. It was only a month or so into the year. Most people's first impression was that moment and it was kinda scarring to see. Everyone had their phone out and I'm pretty sure that it still haunts him because he hasn't done anything similar since. I don't remember if anyone cheered, but I do remember the shock my friend's face because she had been sitting at the table he climbed onto and was way too close to his ass. Please link video. For scientific purposes. High school teacher was sleeping with a student. She then talked the student into murdering her husband. Both got convicted and sentenced to life. Student has been released from prison after serving 25 years. Teacher is still in prison but is in the news every few years crying about how it's not fair the student got released but she is still incarcerated. This was more racist than cringeworthy, but back in high school I had a geography teacher talking about why people want to immigrate to Canada and what makes it a good country. In the middle of his talk about how great our country is, he points at this girl in the back of the class. Let's call her Amy. He asks, "Amy, what made you want to move to Canada?" Which she then responded with, "I was born here." And the whole room just went completely silent. Things were super awkward. For context, the girl's background was Chinese. First day of sophomore year. Had PE class. Teacher was one of those skinny, tiny old ladies with an unreasonably high amount of energy. She starts class off with, "Hope we're all having a good day today." Well, except for Diana's children. This was the day after Princess Di's death. There was this counselor who was very friendly with the Latina girls in my school. I met him during my freshman year roundup and he immediately gave me creeper vibes. He met my mom too, and she was just like, yeah, stay away from him, he's kinda weird. His office had hundreds of pictures of girls on the walls, back when people would go to studios and pass out wallet-sized pictures to friends. Fast forward to my junior year. I was in English class and I realized I forgot a book in the music room, so I left to go grab it. I had to go through a big metal fence/door to get to the music room. This dude's office was right next to that door. As I approach it, he hops out of the office and starts asking what I'm doing, where I'm going, and where I'm coming from. I told him, as he was still a school employee. After that, he started asking about me, what grade I'm in, and why we're not friends. I was kinda creeped out at this point and tried to give short answers, but he was persistent. He started telling me he had a 20-something-year-old son and he wanted me to meet him. I guess he was coming back from overseas the following month. Okay, cool, whatever, I agree. He then shook my hand a little too long and I took off on my way. I told my friends about our interaction and all agreed he's so creepy. At around 11 PM that night, one of my friends called me and told me to turn on the TV to the local news. I go and my mom and I are watching it. It's that guy. He got arrested that same afternoon that I talked to him for attempted sexual assault of another student at my school. He never came back and I never heard from him again. Not teacher, but principal. For every X amount of books we read for I Love to Read month, she would cut an inch off a pair of jeans. She said she would wear them at our celebration assembly. Nothing more uncomfortable than a 50-year-old cougar wearing booty shorts in front of an entire elementary school. Our obliviously happy middle-aged art teacher wanted to bring back the cheer she led at football games when she was a student for our homecoming football game. She politely forced the band teacher to teach the band how to do it and gave us the lyrics, which was sang to We Will Rock You by Queen. We all knew it was cringy the second we read the lyrics. She politely forced the band to do it at the game and almost no one did it because it was terrible. She was cheering the whole time and putting in so much effort, but even the other spectators thought it was over the top. It was just bad. Some other kids probably thought it was cringe, but I thought it was pretty dope. This was a trade school a while ago, but on whatever day it was, one of the history teachers in the building would wear a kilt paired with period bits of armor and a Scottish basket hilt sword on his belt. Was pretty cool in my opinion. At the assembly before we started our exams, our head teacher gave a clearly rehearsed speech based on the school being a ship. It went something like, "This school is a ship, and I am your captain. As the crew, I need you all to do your parts. Sail through the waves of revision, and do not crash into the icebergs of exams. Above all else, do not fall into the sea of failure," etc. Everyone found it very bizarre, and not motivational, and someone photoshopped a captain's hat onto his photo in the yearbook. Edit, I also had a substitute teacher who was recently in the paper for getting thrown out of his disciplinary hearing. He made us draw pictures that represented our interests, and he drew a picture of a bottle and a tree because he liked getting drunk in the woods. In 7th grade, we had a substitute teacher one day. She had an unfortunate last name, Butts, but the day proceeded seemingly normal to me with no trouble given. Last period of the day was language arts, wherein we'd been previously set up with discussion groups as we all read books. So, the point was to discuss them. So people were doing that, so obviously there was talking. I can't speak for other groups, but I know at least mine was doing the work. Randomly, out of nowhere, the teacher screams for everyone to go back to their seats very angrily. A student asks why, and she gets in his face and absolutely shrieks, "Because I told you to." I guess she'd gone over to one of the groups and one of the students had been leaning his chair back, and when she asked him to stop doing it, the footed came down on top of her foot and that's what set her ablaze. Anyway, We all returned to our original seats. She yelled at two of the guys who I sat with because someone had taken their chairs, so they were kinda kneeling. She proceeds to go on this absolutely manic, insane rant about how none of us are doing work. We're all talking, the only two people who were doing work were two girls she let work at the end of the hall around the corner, sure, Jan, and then she just kinda goes on about how none of us know anything about life and a whole bunch of crazy bullshit, and she proceeds to start audibly, visibly, loudly sobbing. Then she runs to the office. She slams the door, and after a solid 2 to 3 seconds of stunned silence, we all started laughing hysterically, because what the FCK? She stayed in there until the end of the day and then we just left. I did find out later that I guess she was in the middle of a divorce, but it was just absolutely one of the cringiest things to watch. Well, technically, he wasn't a teacher, but he was the school principal when I was in elementary. He wore a tutu the whole day, walking around the campus and doing weird dances, and it was pretty weird, but many students found it funny. It was really cringy.